Okay, so welcome. Today I am talking to the beautiful Angela Freychet. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
I did. So Angela is a wonderful, wonderful friend from Norway that I met, I think, in 2014, was it?
Yes, yeah, I think it was towards the end of 2014. That's right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and since then we've both moved to different parts of the world yet again. So today I'm talking to Angela from New Zealand, and you're in Perth, in Australia.
Yeah. Yes, in the northern suburbs of Duncraig.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Can we have your address too? Oh, thanks, Ange. So today we're going to talk about what Angela has been doing over the last few years, which is basically running a hypnotherapy business.
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's called Mind Body Maintenance.
Yes, that's right.
Yes. So can you tell us a little bit about what it is that you do exactly?
Well, yes, for the last 5 years I've been doing hypnotherapy. Prior to that, 20 years before that, and I became a yoga instructor. So I'd been teaching yoga and guiding people into meditation. And I just felt that it was time to go on a different journey. I'd been doing it for 20 years, and as much as I loved it and still do, I just felt that there was more to explore. So for the past 5 years, doing this hypnotherapy, I met a most wonderful woman. She became my mentor, and she said, "Do you want to do this training that we're offering?" And I said, "Yeah, wow, I didn't realize that I could, but yes, I took up her offer and became a certified hypnotherapist in 2014. So, yeah, it was a wonderful, wonderful journey. And, of course, exploring subconscious science, as it's called, is really fascinating. Really fascinating.
Excellent. And so what is hypnotherapy for the people watching that don't really know much about it?
Well, you're invited into a systematic state of relaxation of both body and mind. Mm-hmm. And basically what it is that your conscious mind is encouraged to lay down and have a little rest, not go offline, because we actually need it to be online in order for it to also perceive and get feedback and all that kind of thing, but not to be in the way, because often that conscious mind is the critical mind. It's the analyzing, analytical mind that is often the one that is our saboteur. We know that very well. Mm-hmm. And often we have like this internal war going on. So we have, all this conflict.
What is just before we spoke, so I had to show you. It's a fighting card. It's an Osho. I don't know if you can see. And it's exactly what you're saying right now. So
absolutely, yeah. So that internal war creates a lot of stress, and we know it. We know when our program is running, and I call that program, that negative program, the viral mind.
Okay.
And when we know, I liken it to a computer. So you let your viruses go crazy, and it will crash the computer. Okay. So we need a nice antiviral software, and we just can do that by instating really positive programs. Okay. And we do that in a state of hypnosis. So we're invited into that really lovely state of bliss. You can liken it to the state between waking and sleep. It's a really nice state, and it's often a state that people get a little bit addicted to. They like their hypnosis because it is where we do have that moment of, we can just let go and and feel the relaxation of both body and mind.
Okay.
So we're invited into that state, and depending on what you're coming with, what issue you're coming with, we can explore that. And there's lots and lots and lots of different tools that a hypnotherapist uses while in that state. For example, I use NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. Some people may know that. Basically, it's tweaking all the modalities that we use to encode a memory or an experience. So if you have an experience of, a traumatic experience, for example, you will have usually if you're a visual person, it will be a very big and very close and of course that brings on all that scary kind of emotion. And what we do is we can tweak the dials. So in hypnosis, we will change the color of the picture to black and white. Usually that gives that less intense kind of charge around the experience. Also, we can run the program or run the scene backwards, forwards. By doing that, again, it takes out the emotional charge. We can shrink the picture down. Okay. We can ping it off to different sides of our awareness. We can smash the controls. I've had a client do that actually.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Can you tell us more about that?
Well,
all these.
Yeah, it's a way of, well, in that case, that client had been raped, okay. And her way of wanting, I asked her what she wanted to do with that, the controls of that memory, because it's only the controls of that memory, and she said, I just want to smash it. And I said, well, what is your weapon of choice? And she chose a big sledgehammer, and she went in to smash the controls, because no longer, she realized she was in control, and she was able to no longer have no longer let that experience overwhelm her. So you go through all these different processes depending on the person, depending on what your dominant modalities are, for example, and we can tweak those. And in her case, I then asked her, what is the intensity of the emotion that you have? If I said to you, if you remembered your rape experience, and in the end she said, insignificant.
So when you say you smash it, are you smashing the memory, or are you smashing the triggers that come as a result of that memory?
Well, in her mind, she was a very visual person, and the controls pertain to that memory. Okay. And so the controls to that memory or that experience, she decided, that was her decision, because that may not necessarily have been my suggestion. But she decided to go in and smash the controls to that experience so that they would no longer have any effect over her. And the emotional charge, therefore, around that experience was very diminished. Wow. So, yes. So that's just one example using NLP. There are many, many. For another tool that I love is Past Life Regression.
Okay, and I think that's what I really wanted to get into today. If you don't mind.
No, not at all. It's fascinating for me, so I enjoy to speak about it.
Absolutely. So with that, what is Past Life Regression then? What does it mean? How does it work? How does it play out in the 3D?
Well, in hypnosis, again, you're invited into that nice hypnotic state, hypnotic trance, if you like, and you're invited to just open your mind to imagery, and you're taken on. There are specific protocols that I use that my mentor in America uses. Her name is Dr. Eleanor Gabor. She's written a wonderful book called Home at the Tree of Life, which is a magnificent and very insightful book. And Past Life Regression, in the way that you move through it, a lot of people know how to invoke those kind of images, but the protocol that I use is all about light.
Okay.
So instead of, there's a lot of language that a lot of hypnotherapists use, and that's taking the awareness down, 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 down. And according to my mentor, after she had actually had a client come to her who was able to, I guess, channel, or how would you express it, as being an open vessel for the pure consciousness, the wisdom coming through, had said all of that language is taking you down where it should be taking you up into the light. Because if we, when we do past life regression, or when we have, for example, a near-death experience, as you may have heard, people who recount their experience go up. They go up into the light. Yeah. They go up. There's an elevation, if you like, of consciousness. And so taking someone down is kind of going in, to me, the opposite direction.
Actually.
Yes. And also coming back to that point of being scary, it can open to lower frequencies. So we don't want that. We want to go into high frequency. We use language that pertains to that. Going into the light, getting higher, lighter, faster, you know, that kind of invocation is going up. And so I have these protocols. So we go up into the light, and then we go to the sources of the challenges that are we're confronted with, or where we have these challenges in our life. We want to go to the sources of those challenges. And what will often happen is a person will start to see imagery. There are people who don't see but more feel. So they're more kinesthetic people. They have feelings rather than, you know, but most people will see. And you see like you see in dreams. So it's kind of that dreamlike imagery. A lot of people will kind of fight it. Again, there's that analytical mind coming online going, what the heck is this kind of thing, you know, and will start to really doubt and wonder, am I in hypnosis? Am I really seeing these things? Is this just my imagination? Well, that's a really beautiful point, because according to many sources, your imagination is something that the conscious analytical mind can't conjure. So it comes from a different realm, if you like. So anyhow.
Sorry, Ange, but I often wonder about that, because I have had some sessions long time ago with different people. But, you know, that analytical mind would always come in. And this is when I used to be a little bit more spiritual, quotation marks. I would still really question and judge, is this just me making a story to make it fit into my life? So so what you're saying is that we're not able to make it up?
No, we're not. We're not in that state, no.
Because we're in that state.
Yes, and also that imagination is not part of our analytical, rational mind. So, yeah, I mean, in that state, we are open vessel to that knowledge or that wisdom coming through. But like I say, those images, you may suddenly see yourself, I don't know, as an Inca in a forest somewhere in the Amazon. And you'll think, well, that's kind of cliche thing, blah de blah. But it's you can actually, if you follow that imagery through, what is of real interest is the theme behind seeing that image. And for example, I saw myself as an Inca and I kind of had that reaction at first, thinking, okay, well, I had been to the Amazon, but I had all these images that were very, my imagery is very vivid and very clear, and I saw my tribe around me, and they were bathing, they were drinking from a stream or a water hole, whatever it was, and I had this feeling of trepidation inside me, and I kind of felt this feeling of anxiety all my life and never really knew what it was, or it was just kind of an undertone oftentimes. And that life was showing me why. And it was revealed actually when another tribe attacked my tribe. And I knew something was really in my imagination, in my vision. I saw that I was anticipating something coming, and it was this attack. And it was, and it really, of course, made me realize that this was this feeling that I'd had all my life, because once I'd cleared it, and when I talk about clearing it, you go in and you do a lot of therapy after the past life regression.
Okay.
So I understood why I was seeing that was because I needed to understand where the origins of that anxiety were coming from, and also how I could move on, because it was showing me for a reason. But it's one thing to experience something and another thing to move on from it and learn from it. And I think this is the real key of the hypnotherapy in that past life regression therapy, is to find out the themes and to understand where they come from. And then the biggest part of it is forgiveness. It's forgiveness of the other people who were attacking, of course. I felt incredibly responsible that my tribe had been killed, and actually survivor's guilt, because I was spared somehow. I think I don't know what I did, ran into the forest. I don't know what I did, was running after someone. And then my tribe were massacred, were slaughtered. And I think there were just 3 of us wandering the jungle afterwards. And as much as it feels very, you do feel very connected with these characters, or if you like, that you are identifying with. There is, of course, this sense of, I know that I'm still here, safe in my body, wherever you are, lying on a couch, and that you are in control. So actually, as much as all this imagery is going on, you have every, it's of your own volition. If you want to come out of it, you can.
Yeah.
But most people choose to work through it because it has a very strong connection to something in their lives. So the therapy part of it then is the forgiveness. It's seeing that you go through, of course, the death experience. And in my case, I was wandering through the jungle and I saw myself get smallpox and was in fever. And that was because I'd seen the conquistadors, and they had been very close. I'd watched them from a beach. I was a solitary being with my 2 other brothers, I called them, in my tribe. We were the only ones surviving. And the conquistadors had come and arrived on our shore, and I saw these creatures which were horses, but I didn't know in my mind what they were. It was very interesting. And then I got this smallpox, basically went into fever, left my body. Now that's another huge part of the past life regression, is actually watching your consciousness leave the body. And that part of it, you realize when you've done it many, many times before, that you have actually left your body many, many times before. That you are a spiritual being at heart, that you are, this physical body is just like a costume that you can disrobe. And when you do go through the past life regressions, I always say that you can see this imagery as your past life if you want to, or you can see it as a powerful metaphor of the mind. So regardless of whether you think it's real, that you actually were an Inca in one lifetime, is irrelevant actually, because it's what is the real heart of this issue and what is it trying to teach you? Because your subconscious, as much as it's called a subconscious, is actually a very, very wise, higher part of your consciousness, your higher mind. So it will always, always show you something that is to your highest benefit. It's never going to sabotage you. It's never going to, it may shock you in what you see perhaps, or the imagery that you see, but it's nothing that you can't handle.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So when people come and see you, do they request to have past life regression, or is it something that just comes up depending on the person, client or patient, whatever?
It will vary, because some people are very skeptical about it, and I can only relate that I was a little, what is this? But most people have a curiosity about it, to tell you the truth. And I see it as a very, very valuable tool in what I do. And it's not that I encourage people to do it. It's more that I would say to them, look, this is an opportunity for you to grow and to move through your challenges. It's totally up to you, but this moment, this would be the best course of action. And so, yes, there's a lot of curious people who come in and just want to do that. And mind you, I don't do a past life regression as a first off for someone who's never done it before. I would like them to have a hypnosis session to get used to my voice, to get used to my protocol before moving into past life regression. Yeah. And sorry, and just another thing that I think is really valuable to the past life regression is the afterlife, or the life between lives. Okay. And a lot of the wonderful mentors in this field that I've listened to, or I consider mentors because I've read a lot of their books, listened to a lot of their talks. For example, Michael Newton, Dr. Brian Weiss, Dolores Cannon, they all allude to this in their their studies pertain to this afterlife, this life between lives, which is incredibly profound. And this is where the very pure wisdom comes through a person, and we can converse. Usually we ask for a guide to step forward, our higher consciousness to step forward. It depends on the spiritual beliefs, if you like, or the religious beliefs of that person. But they may have Jesus step forward. They may have the Buddha. They may have their angels. They may just see, an outline of somebody and actually not perceive their face, or they may hear. There's a lot of auditory people who just hear and listen to their voices. And these beings in the afterlife are coming forward to review. We ask that these people come forward and review the life that we've just lived, or there may be several lives we've just lived. And then we are invited to find out what were the lessons in that life. Why was it important to see that life? What are the lessons we can take away with us? What are the things that we can learn about that life, the good and the bad, whatever? There's no judgment in that state, by the way. And how can we transform ourselves? How can we be better people at the end of the day? And what can we bring back with us? And this is where the very deep, enlightening wisdom comes through, and people are often incredibly changed and transformed from these experiences, because they just know. There's often a deep, deep knowing. And those moments can be so profound. They can give us feelings of deep healing. We can get deep healing. We can get immense love. We realize it's the same message every time, that we're incredibly, deeply loved and supported, and that we don't die. We're eternal beings, actually. And that's such an inspiring thing, because I think that's when we really do live our lives fully. We can fully embrace our life, you know. So
many of us have that fear of death, whether it's conscious or unconscious.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yes. Underlying every fear is really the fear of not existing.
Okay.
Yes. And once people experience past life regression and realize they can see that we go on living regardless, our body's there, but we're still here, whatever that means. And that's very inspiring. You know, that we continue on. But yes, definitely fear is fundamental to a lot of the issues that we come forward with in hypnotherapy.
So do you think that, like, in this present life that we're living, I mean, we might have some issues here and there. Do you think they're all associated with a past life, or can some of them be associated with what's happening in the present?
I think both. I certainly think both, because, you know, depending on what's going on for you, you know, you have a health challenge, you have a spouse a relationship challenge. But I believe that there are groups of souls that hang out together to teach us lessons, and unless we have learned those lessons, or we need to get them, we're going to be shown these challenges in these lifetimes over and over again. So and also, I can speak for myself here that I always knew I had this incredible resonance with Japan. Okay. And I knew it from a very young age. I just had this fascination with Japan. And so when I left university, I took off and lived 2 years in Japan. And everything just fell into place that I was supposed to go there. So I realized to trust the universe at a very young age, I guess. And I realized when I was in Japan that everything was very familiar to me. I just had incredible deja vus. In fact, the day that I arrived in Osaka, I was living there, I was living in a small city called Sakaishi, and which is a bit south. It's a port side city of Osaka. And I'd come to live with a girlfriend of mine, and she had to go off to work, but she left me wandering in the little arcade that was just down from our apartment. And she said, look, you know where to go. It wasn't difficult to find my way. And I said, no, it's totally fine. So I went for a walk, and I came upon a temple. It was the mon, or the entrance to the temple, in this arcade. Suddenly there it was, and I just had this urge to go in. It was just so familiar. The hairs are standing up on my arms, and I walked in. It was a Shinto shrine. So the Shintos are the animists. They worship nature. The rock is, as much part of the life force as the trees and the water, and it was just exquisite. Very neat, very cute little tiny courtyard for this Shinto shrine, and one woman sweeping in the corner. And I walked in and had this instant deja vu, like, I know I've been here before. This was too surreal. And I happened to be reading a plaque on the side of the on the side of the building, and it was in English. So it told me that this was originally established, I think it was in 1500. It was just so old. And anyhow, and I noticed all these pigeons on the ground, in the courtyard, and this woman sweeping, and it was very quiet. And all of a sudden the pigeons just flew up and landed on me. And I had about 20 pigeons all over me going, brrr, brrr, and I was thinking, wow, this is amazing. Wow, please don't poop on me.
Good luck.
And it was quite...
If they poop on you, I mean.
It was quite surreal. And this... Apparently that's good luck, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think I've been pooped on.
So, oh, well, there you go. You're a lucky girl. But they didn't, actually. I was very fortunate. They didn't poop on me. But the woman in the corner who had been sweeping was frantically gesticulating and saying something in Japanese, which I didn't get. But I went back and told a friend of mine who was Japanese, and he said, wow, you had just been welcomed to the neighbourhood. Wow. And it was amazing because I literally did not move from that area for the whole 2 years. I lived in that apartment, but then I moved around the corner to another apartment. I walked upstairs into this new apartment, looked out of my bedroom window, and I'm looking straight down into the courtyard of the Shinto temple or shrine again. So this deja vu was very strong for me in Japan. So I would say any of those inclinations that one has, that you're drawn to something, that for some reason you have these tendencies, are actually maybe latent from a different time. Yes.
I have an interesting question then. I'm just going to try and phrase it in my brain.
Yeah.
Just as you were talking, I remembered a conversation I was having with someone recently about soul fragmentation, and I just wanted to get your take on it. And the thoughts behind it was, similarly to you, I've lived all around the world, different places, and I feel like I've moved more than I've stayed in one place. Right. And I know that's been your story. Now, I haven't necessarily been drawn to some of those places. I just kind of woke up and ended up there very quickly. What is the story with that? Is that related to past lives or this life? And do you believe in soul fragmentation, and what does that mean?
I would say things don't happen arbitrarily. Mm-hmm. I think we go places for a reason. And sometimes they're reasons to tell us that we don't belong here. That's my feeling anyhow, after living in several different places of the world. I would say for whatever reason you ended up there, what did you learn in that place? That would be more of my question. What was the understanding of you being there? Why were you there? What was your feeling there? Yeah, those kind of things. In terms of soul fragmentation, I mean, I've read about it, the soul being split and being in different places. I would say that's plausible because at the end of the day, we are energy. You know, science has told us that now, that we are just vibrating energy, and when you look down at that, there's nothing there, which is mind-blowing. So the possibilities are endless. I've read a lot about Michael Newton. I don't know if you've read any of his works.
I've read Dolores Cannon,
and Dolores Cannon, yes.
Yeah.
And I think there are definitely accounts of souls who just feel they're akin, that meet each other, may have relationships in whatever way, shape or form, for whatever reason have come together. I could honestly say that would definitely be plausible. I'm not sure myself because I haven't had that experience firsthand. I do know that in that state of consciousness, in the hypnotic state, that time does not exist. So that sense of, having I've had clients, for example, who've recounted lives that would really be overlapping each other. And that may not make sense from a linear timeline, but in their mind, they live these lives. So perhaps it could be something related to that the consciousness has this capacity to be in many places at once, which would be certainly possible. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. And do you have any interesting stories that you're able to share with us about perhaps a past life regression and how maybe having that session helped someone in their daily life, and where you can see complete transformation in that person? Yeah.
Oh, many, but one person comes to mind, for example, very strongly. In this lifetime, I met her actually in Norway. Okay. She was a Polish lady, and at the age of 22, I believe, when she was living in Poland, she had her thyroid removed. So apparently her village had been part of the area that had the fallout from Chernobyl. So the Chernobyl incidents, the radiation had swept across parts of Sweden, Poland, and her village had fallout, and so her thyroid was cancerous. Anyhow, so when I met her, she had this huge scar across her throat, and she was in a marriage. She had 3 children. She was in her 50s or so. She'd been a doctor. She'd been very successful at what she did. But she decided that she was in an environment that wasn't working for her, and so she quit. The other part of it, her husband was very controlling, and she was thinking, I want to go out and do something different. But there was a lot of trepidation about that. There was a lot of self-doubt, all those kinds of things. And she was in this place of where do I go from here, which we can all relate to, I'm sure. We've all had those moments of, okay, what next? But she had a lot of skills. She was incredibly intelligent, incredibly knowledgeable in the field of medicine, but not just allopathic. She'd had a big, deep insight into her own physiology. When she'd had this thyroid removed, she decided that she needed to take action to get all of her hormones in balance. So she did a lot of research and found out that there were lots of different and alternative methods in keeping the thyroid regulated. And so she was very proactive in doing that, but she realized she could help others because she had a lot of people coming to her asking about hormones, asking about this and that. So she was thinking along the lines of doing something, but I think there was a lot of judgment coming forth from husband.
Okay.
So that was her backstory. She came to me. She was fascinated in doing past life regression. She said, you know, I just find it amazing. I think I'd love to do something like that. She was a very spiritual person also. And the first life, often when a client will experience past life, they might skip through various lives. You don't necessarily just see one life beginning to end. You may be invited, my invitation to the client is to go to the next important event, and that may mean going to another lifetime. So anyhow, the first lifetime she saw herself as a child, and she was somewhere in rural Poland. She said she realized she was communicating with animals telepathically.
Okay.
But she wasn't able to speak. So she was born mute, but she was able to have these incredible interactions with animals. And she was able to feel very, very deeply the emotions of her parents and those around her. And she came to realize that she wasn't able to express what she wanted to express to her family because of this thing going on from birth. And she felt the trepidation of when the Germans were invading Poland. But she couldn't express that to her parents. And then she saw everyone, including herself, being taken away. And I said, go to the next important event, and she skips to another lifetime. Wow. And she sees herself as a very beautiful woman in about the 1940s. So again, it's kind of like this, you can't see it in a linear timeline, but she saw herself again as a Polish woman.
Wow.
Yes, who was very beautiful, who had been offered a movie role in America. And it was post-war, and she was invited to come to New York to start this career. And said, I saw myself on the boat. I was, with beautiful furs around me. I had I was dressed very fine in fine clothes, and she arrives in New York and has quite a successful career. And then she sees herself in many different roles. Her directors are loving her because she's so photogenic, and she gets involved with a man who becomes very jealous. So he becomes her jealous lover. And then he can't stand the fact that she's getting so much attention through her job, through her with the directors, and he chokes her to death. So she leaves her body and she goes into the life between lives, which is this beautiful state of all-knowing where like I say, you have the invitation to meet with your higher consciousness.
Mm.
And it was all about communication. It was all about the throat.
Mm.
It was all about her inability to speak up.
Mm.
And these themes are what fascinate me because they happen all the way through. Every client that I've met, there will always be a theme that is relevant to the person in this lifetime. In her case, she'd physically had her thyroid removed, but she was also under the thumb of her very domineering and controlling husband.
In this lifetime.
In this lifetime.
Yeah.
Again, didn't have the capacity to express, and I found that fascinating. And she then, after going through all of that therapy in the life between lives, she realized, oh my God, I get it now. I've gone through all these lifetimes where I was not unable to speak out, speak up, speak my truth. And now I get it. And I know what I have to do. And I believe she's been very successful in what she's doing. So, yeah, it's inspiring stuff.
Quite significant that 2 lifetimes came up with, well, 3. The current and then the 2.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, fascinating. Yeah.
Amazing. We might have to wrap it up soon.
I know. It gets just get me talking.
I know, it gets really deep and there's just so much that we can like delve into, I think. Is there anything particular you'd like to leave us with in terms of, I guess, whether it's hypnotherapy or past life regression, who should be having sessions and for what reasons, and how will it help them in their life?
Well, I think anybody can come for whatever reason. In fact, I have had clients who don't feel that there's much really going on, in terms of anything traumatic or, So it was just a curiosity of what it's about. But you can, many people come for hypnosis just to, could be improving your golf swing. Yes. Yeah. So, and I believe it's effective. And, I just think that my message probably would be, and I see this even in very young kids now, that, I think it would be wonderful if schools would implement positive thinking, because that's what it boils down to. It is about the way we regard ourselves and what we tell ourselves, our self-talk. Past life regression can dig deep into those deep issues, but every morning when a person wakes up, here's something that I would love for every mother to teach their children, every mother to do, father included, brother, sister, is the first thing when you become aware that you're waking, that beautiful state, which is pretty much not dissimilar to that state of hypnosis, is to say something really kind to yourself. Like laying there, you can even use the imagery of light pouring down like a waterfall of light. And even it could be something like, everything is working out for me. Just so simple as that. Everything is working out for me. I am a river of abundance. I'm a river of love. I'm a river of joy. I love that analogy. Just to use a kind word to say to yourself, first thing starts the template for the day.
Don't look at your phone. Don't reach for that.
Well, that can come after.
I am the temple of love.
Exactly. And it will set the tone for the day. And the more kind things you say to yourself, when you hear that little mean girl voice or mean boy voice, cut yourself off and say, no, that's not true.
Mm.
On the other part of it is that you are in control of your thoughts.
Mm.
I get to choose how I think and feel.
Mm.
And there's no pointing the finger outside oneself.
Mm.
You know, and coming back to the past life thing, you can realize that, you know, you might have been hard done by in this lifetime. You go and visit another lifetime and you're the perpetrator.
Mm.
So that opens this great door for forgiveness, for compassion, no judgment. Just bring the positive light through the body, through the mind. Remember that we're all the same at the end of the day. So, yeah.
Thank you for that.
You're so welcome.
Any parting wisdom? I'm like not wanting.
And get out in nature.
Hmm.
You know, move the body and get out in nature. Nature is such a beautiful teacher. Breathe the air, even if you can't, if you're stuck in an office. Imagine yourself somewhere beautiful. Breathe in the vibes of being in a forest. You can smell the forest. You could hear the birds. You know, you can invoke these things with your imagination, and the power of the imagination is profound, is deep. So
You're the second person to talk about nature in the second interview, so it must be a message for us all.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Angela. And how can people find you? Through your website?
Yes, through mindbodymaintenance.com.au. I also offer Skype sessions. I have a lot of clients in France and in Norway and America now who will often Skype and have past life regression sessions, or we just do hypnosis sessions together depending on what's going on. So I'm available, and also in Perth. I have an office in Netherlands in Perth, but yeah, here I am, and hoping to help in whatever way, shape or form.
Thank you so much. It was so lovely connecting with you again. We'll find another excuse to meet, I'm sure.
We will. We will. I loved it. Thank you. It was great.
And I'll pop the link for everyone in the comments so you can click and find Ange that way. Thanks you so much, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day.
Yes, you too. Bye, dear. Bye.